Hello, legends and super legends. Welcome to Veloharmony. We're getting a break today. Can't believe I'm saying this. We're starting at 11C and we're going to get up to 13C. And in Fahrenheit, it's around 52 to 55 during the ride. The high will be 57, which is probably 14, 15C, something like that. But it's going to be cloudy. It's going to be overcast. And I don't know what the wind's doing, but I did not have to wear as much stuff today. I'm wearing the arm warmers. I mean, giving my long winter jerseys a break because all week it's been cold here. These arm warmers are ours, and they have a thermal fleece backing. So when you get an arm warmer for your kit, make sure it's got thermal fleece on it. Makes a big difference. I'm just going to hold the mic here because I've got a bunch of stuff I want to show you when I put it in my pocket. So all I'm wearing basically is my Castelli Nano Flex. It's designed to wear in cold, wet situations. The Colnago is the bike I'm taking off today because it already has the mud guards on. I've been using it all week in the rain, and it's ready to go and packed up. It's not supposed to rain until after our ride, but it rained all night. So the roads are probably wet. They might be dry, but you know, I just left it on there because I'm spoiled since using these SKS. I do a wet ride and I'm clean when I'm done. And so even though there's a chance of rain and it's not raining now, I'm considering taking this jacket. This is a rain jacket from Pactimo. It's foldable and you can put it away. I may leave it. I'm not really sure because the forecast is pretty spot on. I went outside and it's dry. There's no moisture or anything, so we'll probably be good. But I've got 4 banana bread patties here. Yeah, I guess you guys can see that. 4 banana bread. And then I got 2 gels and 2 granola bars because I plan to spend at least 4 hours on the bike today. This is Saturday. I've got the time. And since it's like above 10C, I'm taking the Endura. These are rain proof and they've got a thermal internal. It's very warm in its temperature. It's perfect for these temperatures. Once you start going much below 4C, then you need a liner with those guys. Those of you who saw the recent video that I released last night know what I'm talking about. I will be wearing the Przewalski skull cap. That's all I'm going to put on because it covers your ears nicely. And because it has ventilation in it, I have prepared the film for the review. I will release that soon so that you can get all the details. This skull cap is very, very versatile. Above 4C. It's perfect for that. And you can layer if it gets much colder. I love the way it feels. Easy to use. So I'm wearing that. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and pack up my food and get ready. I've got 2 bottles on the Colnago, one bigger than the other, because I only stop if I have to. So Frankie's supposed to be there. He RSVP, and Paul's going to be there. Paul and I have been doing the Rapha Festive 500, been riding all week, living the life of a professional cyclist. We've been living on the bike all morning. Those of you who follow us with Strava, you've seen that. Paul's already completed the challenge. I'm within 40 kilometers of it, I think. So that should be easily done today. So I'm going to go ahead and get ready.
All right, we're rolling to go find Paul. He's missing in action. He completed the Rapha Festive 500 yesterday, so I guess he's quitting on us. We're gonna go drag him out of bed. Jeremy's here for part of our ride today. Turn on my stats here. So we're heading towards Paul's house. We're gonna bang on the door till he wakes up. Got Frankie here. Been riding at night. That's dedication.
Yeah, Frankie's been doing his Rapha Festive 500 miles at night after work. All right, turn on my computer right there, the Garmin head unit, to get it synced to the satellite. There's the stats are showing up.
The satellite synced. I think we're good. We have stats. Of course, most of my riding this week has been spinning. Guess I should have brought my rain jacket. It said it wasn't supposed to be raining though till 1 o'clock.
You can see the raindrops on my sleeve there. It wasn't supposed to rain, but all of a sudden we got these showers. Ended up not being anything organized. Just spotty showers.
Shower, right?
So it worked itself out.
Let's go.
Since nothing's coming, we're turning here. There's no traffic coming from the opposite way instead of sitting at the corner in this rain.
I actually left my rain jacket hanging up on the door. I was gonna bring it. Yeah, I saw the weather.
Yeah, Frankie's saying that the forecast called for rain later in the day, like around 1.
I left the mud guards on there because it rained last night, most of the wee hours. But it's probably just in spots. The good thing is it's not super cold.
Yeah, it's not freezing or anything, so that's a plus. But I spot Paul in the distance around here. You can't really see him on camera, but I see the light. He has a front light that's blinking. And so Frankie and I are teasing him. Frankie says, you need to be ready. And so Paul was running late because he forgot his glasses and his gloves. You know, it's just one of those mornings. No big deal. So right about here we see him. So we're going to do a U-turn.
Yeah, I saw him. That's what I saw. That's what I said.
That's why I said, you know, we're teasing him to be, you got to be ready. Because we saw the light. We couldn't see him, but we saw the light flashing. So he should be able to come in the, there he is. You can see him in the camera now. So we're turning here. I told Jeremy not to stop. Just turn and Paul will join us. That way we just keep moving. The rain has stopped. That's why I love those mud guards, because even though the rain stopped, look at the road. And it rained all night. So that kept me clean. And you'll see later, I will show you guys. Frankie gets dirty. There's some other cyclists will come across.
Left everything. What do you mean? Come over.
Backs are dirty.
What do you mean?
Left my gloves, my glasses.
He said he forgot his gloves and his glasses.
I had the regular glasses on.
He had his regular glasses on, not the cycling glasses.
Go back, yeah.
He just walked out of the house.
That's okay. We'll hold that waiting. Yeah, I was just right. I said, I told him, man, 7:30, 7:50.
Yeah.
So I told the boys on the camera, I said, we're going to beat his door. We're going to drag him out of bed because just because he finished the challenge,
No, man.
he's not wimping out on us.
Yeah, the Rapha challenge really was a plus for me.
Let me just go.
Yeah, that's the point.
Yeah. Jeremy, welcome, man.
He's going to ride with us some of the way.
Okay.
He's got to get home early. I told him we're doing kid and cutoff.
Okay. Frankie, what's going on?
I don't know what the heck Jeremy is thinking because it's cold. He's dressed in a summer outfit, regular jersey, regular shorts, And they thought about he runs hot when we got to the parking lot before we started. The human body is 98.6 for everybody.
Careful, man.
So
Go.
it's cold.
Go on through. I'll come up to you. What route you been using at night? Where you been riding?
I did 1488 through the Woodlands.
Frankie's telling me about the routes that he's
And then I
been
did
using.
the
But this is how you don't dress below 10C. Okay, it doesn't make you tough. It just means you're not using your head. It's cold. I mean, his arms are not covered, legs are not covered, so I don't know. He said he had a time constraint for work, but there's no way I would spend 3 hours on this day dressed like that. You guys see what we're wearing. It's cold. It's windy. It's raining. I mean, I got shoe covers and I got booties over my shoes, gloves, everything. In that weather, this guy's dressed like it's July in Houston.
Well, we got everybody, so we're heading out.
Don't do that, folks. Doesn't make you tough.
It's good to have you here, Jeremy. Sorry you don't have enough time, but we're gonna work your legs before you go.
I decided to mess with Jeremy because when I got to the parking lot, he said, I don't want to change the group schedule. I got a time shift change. I got to be at work at 11:30. I was thinking, I told him, I said, you can turn off at that point. Group schedule ain't changing.
Golf course and Frankie attacks. And Jeremy went with Frankie. Paul and I are here. So, because I told him let's get to the business of riding. And I guess somebody got upset. So I tried to, in my mind, told Paul, they got 4 hours to ride. Pulling me like a fish on a hook.
The ride up the road, they're really not far. They're just a little around that curve. So we're just kind of rolling.
If I get all my other shoes to feel like that?
Yeah.
Frankie's been doing his Festive 500 rides in the dark at night after work. And so he's going to finish it today. He's within, I think, 60 kilometers or something. That was really cool to see. So I've been living on the bike, even with an ear infection, fever. Last Sunday, I started the ride. So if it weren't for the Festive 500, I wouldn't have been able to get the kilometers in this week. I would have wimped out when I got sick. So I rode the first 4 days sick. So kudos to Rapha for putting this on because it got me out of the house. It kept the intensity low, allowed my body to heal. And on this day, I was feeling great. So this is like day 7, I believe. This is our group ride we're going to incorporate. And we're doing 4 hours plus. Living the life of a Euro pro. So we roll up to Frankie and Jeremy. They've turned off the power already. But you know, the way my engine works, once I get the valves open, I want to go. Catch up to them and just roll past. Paul follows me because he knows it's on. Decided to modify this route a little bit, so in about probably a quarter mile, I think,
We're gonna turn right. Since they started playing early.
Everybody there? Alright.
Paul's checking to make sure everybody's there. Since they started playing early, I decided to take a shorter way to get us out into the open road quickly. So we're not gonna do our usual warm-up route. I've been riding every day, even though it was low intensity, so when you ride frequently, you don't need that much of a warm-up. It's good to have a warm-up so your body's ready for harder efforts, but we turn right here. So instead of going down and coming back up, we're just cutting across to get out to what I call the open road with fewer stop signs. Our friend the wind is here, of course. So it's windy, and you can see the temperature was 9C, now it's 8C. It's my head unit adjusting to the outside temperature. So I don't know what Jeremy was thinking to come out here like he did, because you can't spend 3 hours out here. It's just not good for your body, because your quality will go down. You can't really get into the workout if you're cold. On this ride, you guys will see, those of you in the UK are already familiar with mud guards. We stay clean and dry, and Frankie was dirty and wet. And so he said, oh, I learned something new every time I ride with you guys. I thought he was going to have to get a special kind of fender for his time trial bike. His frame is set up differently. His frame is set up differently, so he needs something different. But they do work. They have those little flaps that they call ASS Saver, but I prefer the mud guards because it has better coverage and it protects the rider behind you. Because we ended up in this ride once we got out there. Right here is dry, but we run into some wet roads. They had rain on before we got there, and we couldn't follow Frankie. We let him. We kept our distance because it gets you dirty, you know. And then Paul even got it in his face and his eye, when he was following Frankie. So right here, I'm just keeping the pace high. Since they want to play, I figure, okay, let's make it interesting. Jeremy's going home earlier. He's going to turn when we get into the Woodlands and take a different route because he doesn't have the time to go with us, which might be good because I don't think he's dressed to spend 4.5, 5 hours out. It's just not, you know. So I figure let's make it worth their while. Now basically for me, I'm in zone 2. But it's not easy. We're going into the wind here. This is a slight grade. It doesn't register because it's probably less than 1%. See how I'm taking these corners? I want to make sure the pace doesn't slow down much. I called car up as I went through that corner. So right here, Frankie takes off. And watch, he goes right there and stops and gets behind some guy who he doesn't know. He sits on the guy's wheel like they made an appointment to meet out here. I just resumed and passed. I was like, I don't know what you're doing. Frankie's just messing around. Big kid. I turn. This is where I call the open road. After this stop sign here, we go for a good while before we hit a stoplight. There are those signs for at least, I think, 3 miles or so. Good stretch. This is a loop that a lot of cyclists come to do time trial training. It's clear. Let them know. Yeah, Paul said that Frankie didn't leave home with that man, but he's acting like they had an appointment. So the wind's coming from in our face and to the left from the north. And that's another reason it's cold. I have my ears covered because it's cold. You see my cadence is up, trying to keep myself loose, ready for anything, because Frankie's been doing these little accelerations for like 10 yards, saying he stopped. I don't know what he's up to. I figure, okay, let's keep it going. Let's get this ride on. Got a long day in the saddle. Let's get out there. I think Paul's coming to the front for a different shot or something. Not sure what he's doing. Oh, we swapped cameras. Frankie was going to turn right. Sometimes we turn right when we're chatting, but I suggested we go straight because the pace is already decent. Let's just keep it going. Usually that road over there is quieter. It's not as busy, and usually we'll turn there when we're during a tranquilo ride, quiet ride. But today is loud. Paul and I have been riding every day during the challenge. We've been riding at least 4 hours each time, thereabouts. So we've got a lot of kilometers in our legs. Going downhill here. I'm not sure why Frankie's backpedaling. That's an old school bicycle. He's backpedaling. I used to do that when I was a kid when we had coaster brakes. When you backpedal to stop your bike. But that's not something I do on a road bike. I don't backpedal. I soft pedal. Or just not pedal at all. You can see my heart rate says 150 beats per minute. I'm about 2 beats below the top of zone 2. Normally I would be well into zone 3, but we've been riding so much that it was taking more work to get my heart rate into my zones. And that's the benefit of training. You do more work in each zone. And then eventually you modify your zones because your threshold will change over time. I'm not sure what Frankie's doing here, but I'll go ahead and roll behind him here. I don't know if I gave Paul the camera or kept it. I think I kept it. I adjusted the camera there. So the thing is that these little accelerations, you pay a price. So instead of going through steadily at the speed Paul was doing, lifted the pace while we're going up that incline. That saps you. And you guys are going to see he pays the price after this intersection. This is more for just every cyclist. The human body has a finite amount of energy. That's why the pros sit in the pack, they draft, and then they wait for their sprints or the mountains or the hill climb, whatever is important to them, and then they go. Because you only have so many of those in you. And so you have to focus on the kind of preparation you've been doing, and you have to know what your body is capable of. Because if you prepare enough, yeah, you can do 20, 30 of those. But, you know, it depends on your preparation. Look for a car. And Jeremy at the turn took off. I'm not sure what he was doing, but I wasn't interested in what he was doing. We got our own plane. So I went to the front, just set our pace. I think he was cold. So he's trying to stay warm. So we're going up an incline here. Let's see if it registers. It says 0. So it's a grade. And then we're going directly into the wind. There's Frankie. We haven't even crossed the bridge. He's paying the price for that acceleration right there when Paul was pulling that I was talking about. And all the other earlier accelerations, like when I started the video where I said he took off and Jeremy went with him. So the thing is that when you do these things, you have to make sure you got enough in the bank to hang on. 'Cause we're not really going that hard right now. Well, the effort's creeping up. So we're getting up to I'm in zone 3 right now, which I don't like this zone. But we're just holding our effort for our 4-hour ride. I have no idea what Jeremy was doing. I don't even understand what he was doing. So we just continued to do our thing and kept riding, and we caught it, pulled him back. Paul comes to the front here. I think I remember telling him to watch the camera because you're filming the road here. Yeah, and he turns. He turns. At this point, I am just in the zone here like a metronome, and I'm just moving. And this is hard because we're going into the wind. And this is a grade. It gets up to about 2%. It should show up in a bit, probably around that curve. I think around the curve it shows up. So we're holding about 18 miles an hour, 30 kilometers by 18. It's right at 18. My cadence is a little above where I usually like to go. I look back and just got into some kind of a groove. You see now the grade says 1%. Should flicker at 2 briefly. Yeah, there, 2. Right above the cyclist head. Now it goes back to 1. But the whole thing's a grade. That's the thing about climbing. You're still up. It just flickers around. We're still climbing here. So Frankie ended up riding this stretch alone because he wasted all his energy earlier. So that's what happens, folks. You gotta save it. So we turned off the power here. And see Frankie in the distance there.
Clear.
There's a red light, so it's clear behind. We're going to get in the left lane. We're going to be heading north. We're heading northeast on this one, so we're going to be heading more north than east. You can see the overlay is already adjusting. The north is moving to the left. So what I was telling Paul is that there's a red light once we get through the Flint Ridge Hills to cut the camera there. Because we have a lot of intersections there. We don't really rock and roll that much, so I'm trying to reduce editing time and be able to get these things out more timely. So trying different things every day. So we'll roll through this intersection here. Frankie's back with us. I look back to make sure everybody's together. Since it's a long day in the saddle, primarily the goal is to keep this in zone 2, a steady pace, which is where right now I am anyway. And everybody's different, so consistent with what I talked about last week when Hector asked about the group. He was riding with a group and he said it was easy in the back. So if you're planning on doing an endurance ride that day and you get with a group, if you're in the back and it's at your endurance pace, it doesn't matter how easy it is if your goal was to do that same effort. That's why I like to use heart rate monitor, power meter, all of that. Speed doesn't mean a whole lot, or RPE. As long as you're at your pace, then you're with the right group. Now, if you're sitting in the back and it's too easy, like I told Hector in the video, go to the front and stay there longer so you can get to your zone. You know, use the group to help you accomplish your goals. And if you can't get to the front because there's a lot of people there pulling, then don't sit in the draft if it's too easy. Catch a little bit of wind, stay to the side, stay off the back, maybe a car length or less, and catch more wind as if you say you were in the front. There are many ways to get a workout while enjoying the camaraderie of a group. So all I'm doing here is just trying to keep it steady. This is 39 minutes into like a 5-hour day. So you don't want to get too excited. So we approach this climb and I just stay in the same gear. You can see my cadence is in the same range, in the 80s. Even though I'm standing. My heart rate has gone up because I stood the whole way. If you look at the green graph on the display, that's my heart rate. The temperature stays flat most of the time because it really didn't change that much. That spike on the temperature, the white line looks like an anomaly. But the graph's heart rate kind of lets you know when the effort kicks in. The numbers there, you can see how quickly it goes down as soon as we hit the downhill. So when you're fit, your recovery is really, really good. And that allows you to be able to launch an attack, recover, go again, and those are the characteristics of a top rider. Most of the top riders, that's how they train, because that can put you in a breakaway, and that gives you the fitness you need to be able to chase back if you have a flat or something happens without panicking. So you got to do more work than the ride that you think you're preparing for. If you're preparing for a Grand Fondo and it's 50 miles, you want to try to do more than that duration, how long it would take you to do that ride as you prepare over time so that you can comfortably handle it. Every time the road goes up, Frankie falls off the pace. He needs a bit of strength in the legs, and we work on some of that in this ride. You will see that once we get into Ridge Lake Shores. And Frankie actually ends up dropping somebody. You know how you pass cyclists on the road and they act like they got to chase you? They don't know us. We just ride. We pass them, and this one guy wants to pass us back, not realizing we can do this all day. And it's pretty interesting. You'll get to see it. So Frankie dropped the mic, and what that phrase means is Frankie was done with him. That was the phrase Paul used. Frankie dropped the mic. So it was a lot of fun. We finished the initial climbs. We turned here on John Cooper Road. This is a false flat. It probably flickers, but it's about 1%, 0.7 to 1% in certain spots. But it's a climb. So that's why you can't kill yourself back in those rollers, because this one is a drag up to the light. Yeah, it said 1% there. So you're still climbing, so you got to keep your cadence up. I like climbing in the 80s. I can go faster cadence-wise if I need to, but that's just a rhythm my body likes when I'm climbing or even time trialing once I get up to speed. So you guys watch Jeremy here. That's what you call half wheeling. And so I just ignore him. I'm doing my pace. If you're going to be riding side by side with somebody, keep the wheel lined up. A lot of riders hate that. You're riding two abreast and somebody keeps inching up. That's actually poor etiquette. So just remember that.
Hey, what's Frankie doing? Hey, I'm driving, man.
You're feeling good? Just right.
Frankie didn't answer. So we split from Jeremy. Jeremy turned back towards town, and we headed north. We're on the Fish Creek thoroughfare. We're outside the Woodlands, outside the city of the Woodlands, and we're heading towards an area called Honey. And we're going to stop into the subdivision called Ridge Lake Shores. Got some nice climbs in there. After Ridge Lake Shores, we're to a place called Raven Chapel, the road, because they have very long climbs compared to what we have in our area. So Paul leads us here on Fish Creek Thoroughfare. It's at this point just overcast, and we're going directly into the wind. So if you watch my effort, 146 beats per minute, 146 to about 151, whatever, that's zone 2, 52, 153. Most of the ride, that's where it stayed, except for areas when I pushed like back in the Flint Ridge Hills where I stood up. Your heart rate is trying to catch up to get blood flow. But for the most part, we keep our effort the same. The reason I'm stressing that is I'm going to emphasize that when we catch up to some cyclists and one of them decides not to let us go. Not realizing our level or who we are. They just assume, certain things. And so it really made the ride very, very interesting. Because we had just planned to go ride those long climbs. We didn't think there'd be company. So it added a nice twist to it. Probably about 3 kilometers or so from Ridge Lake Shores at this point. And what ended up happening, I did not do a whole lot of drinking because when you ride in the cold, you tend to urinate more. And so I only drink when I need to, and I only carry electrolytes. That way I can get some energy while I'm drinking. Because if you drink too much, you just have to stop so frequently. Because the body just behaves differently when you're cold or working out in the cold. There are different theories as to why that is. And I've done some research on it. And I'll do a video about that because it's important to know. There's nothing wrong with stopping. There's nothing wrong with you physically, but you need to stop and relieve yourself. Don't just ride with a full bladder if you don't have to. I don't really get much draft when I'm behind Frankie. If you notice, my heart rate stayed in the 140s, which is where it is when I'm at the front. I don't mind it because I want the workout. I want to stress my aerobic zone, my endurance zone. And so I'm in a bigger gear. You see my cadence is a little, well, it's going up now. It's a little below the 80s. And I'm just sitting there rolling the gear because speeds are not changing that much. Now it's back in the 70s. So I let my cadence slow down a bit. It's a way of taking a break, but you're still maintaining the speed. And right now I'm focusing on making sure that I get the shot from the angle, not directly behind Frankie. Paul is not aware that I'm filming, but we had turned off the camera after we left the Woodlands. And I turned it on when we got on Fish Creek after the main downhill. So he was not aware. Get into Wrigley Shores, you will see later on I work with Frankie on just getting him to look. You need to ride these gears, you need to sprint. Simon Moses had suggested, get Frankie to sprint up those hills. It's one way to build your strength. Another way is just put it in a gear that's harder than you're used to riding in and try to maintain that effort or speed in that bigger gear. Your legs will burn, but you got to do that over time to get accustomed to it. And so even when Frankie drops this guy later on in the ride, I told him, stop messing around with those little gears. He was about to downshift. I was like, don't you dare downshift. We're on the climb, and you'll see it. You got to make the legs hurt from time to time. It's just for a short period. Even if you stand up, doesn't matter. You can't keep riding little gears and expect to build strength. Supposedly Eddie Merckx said it's better to spin a big gear. So, that hasn't been proven that he said it, but I read that somewhere. I think I mentioned it before in a video. Whatever gear you're in, handle it. If you're not able to, go train. That's what it's about. You train. That's why I say we don't ride, we train. I go out, I have a focus of what I'm doing that day. It's not just to go ride. There are rides where we just sightseeing. That's different. That's a recovery day. You go to do a workout, do a workout.
You just stop. Fix that.
Right here, Paul is messing with his glasses, and I saw that, and I asked him if he needed to stop, and he said, yeah. So we stop here. And you guys need to do that in your group rides. There should be times when you can stop, when there's a lull in the action. If somebody needs to do something, you can't do everything on the bike. So I sped it up here while he cleaned his lenses with this fog.
All right.
So I checked on Frankie there. We're ready to go. It wasn't that long. I know a lot of riders worry about average speed over the ride. I don't really pay that much mind. When it's time to work hard and you can work hard, average speed doesn't matter. You'll be able to hang on when you need to. So in our rides, if we need to stop, we stop. For whatever reason. And then we have a lull in the action, and then when it's time to work, we work. That's the way it is. Even when you train solo, the whole ride doesn't need to be high. You're not doing a time trial.
Cool.
So we're discussing how we're going to do the
Glad
shots.
You got the chance to film that section. So this coming over here. Because I was wondering.
Yeah, Paul was wondering. He said he didn't know that the camera was on
Okay.
right before we got here. So he said that was kind of cool.
Now I want to do Raymond Chapel.
Okay.
Just a piece of that.
Yeah.
I'm doing Keenan Cutoff.
Yeah, Keenan Cutoff is a big highway. It's boring, busy, shoulder, not much to see. I want to film the pretty areas, the country lanes with the trees over the road and the climbs. So that's where the action is. That's where we go hard. On the main highway, we're just rolling to get to an area for fun. So here at Ridge Lake Shores, there's a loop that we do that has some climbs, and so I'm hoping that to work with Frankie in here today. That was the plan, and get him to ride a little larger gear because we're going to Ribbon Chapel after Ridge Lake Shores, and the climbs there are longer. They're not all super steep, but the entire time you're climbing. Not sure what we're talking about here, but right where that car is up the road that turn left, as soon as you turn, the climb begins. It may not register, but it's a climb. And it's long and it's steep. It starts slowly and then the grade just keeps going up. And you see where Frankie is? He should be up front because he's already having trouble hanging on the climbs and he's already at the bottom, at the back, I mean. He should be like where I am or in front of Paul. Then if you fall back, there you go, he passes Paul, good. Because if you fall back, then at least you will end up at the back, but still close. The climb has begun. You can see immediately it says 2%. I just stand up. Because it's going to keep getting steeper. Standing is not the most efficient way to climb. The heart rate will go up more beats than when you sit, and it's relative, it's varied from everybody. I don't really care about that. It feels good in this situation where this climb just goes 2, 4, 6 point something. Right here it's like 4%. I don't know if the overlay picks it up. It says 3 there because I saw 4 on my head unit. And right where this anchor is, it goes even steeper. This is there it is. This is the steepest pitch. So I think I saw 5% there. Yeah, it really bites. On my head unit it says 6.4. Right here it bites. And I stood up the whole way because I can use the power in my upper body. And that builds your leg strength too. You see, it still says 3%. And look where Frankie is. No strength in the legs. And I was telling Paul I couldn't get my heart rate to go up. Even though I stood up like that, it just said 151. So basically, with all the riding I've been doing, my body may be a little tired in combination with the fact that my fitness has gone up. Because if your legs are tired and you can't really drive your heart rate up, sometimes it stays low. But generally I felt good, and that's more important, how you feel. I didn't realize Paul had the camera back on Frankie this long, but he's quite a ways back. And every group will have this situation. It doesn't matter the number of people. Generally, like if you... So generally, if you have, I'm not sure what we're talking about here. I think we're talking about the Woodlands and the different turns in there or something. But anyway, if you have women in the group, women generally don't have the muscle mass that guys do to generate the same level of power. I mean, there are exceptions, of course, depending on the class of the lady. So a lot of times the ladies will fall back on the climbs, and then you regroup. So Frankie comes through and he says that hill hurt. And I was teasing him up there because he said that in a year, riding with us, a year from now, he'll be a beast. And so I told him, you're going to be a beast, you're going to have to do the work. So that's what we're talking about here as we roll. So we did, that climb was very long, and the grade changes from 2, 4, 6.5 thereabouts. So it's a good climb. Whenever I come out here solo, I do that at least twice. And I ended up the day after this ride coming back and doing this same loop by myself on Sunday. I like coming out there. So even though it's hard, I challenge myself. We're talking about shoe covers, but Frankie's shoes are getting dirty. And, you know, with the rain and water on the road, and, you know, he doesn't have any fenders or anything. So we're talking about covering your shoes, and it's kind of cool. I mean, 8C, I guess is not too bad, but anytime below 10C, I cover my feet. I like my toes nice and toasty. So I'm wearing Endura shoe covers. They're easy to get on, unlike the Belgian shoe covers, and they're water resistant. The material is like almost like polyester kind of thing, and it's just easy to clean. So it keeps your shoe clean. Just peel it off, rinse it, and you're ready to use it again. So almost like lightweight galoshes for the bike. So we're talking about bike parts. He's talking about to get his fenders and get shoe covers. And I told him, you don't go to the bike shop, do it online, because they don't have what you want most of the time anyway.
If they have.
So I told him I only go to the bike shop when I need something now, because I have to ride and they happen to have what I need. Otherwise, I order it online. I can get specifically what I want. And I usually get things before I'm out.
I won't find too many seasoned riders buying stuff in the bike shop unless something breaks and the bike shop has it and they need it to go ride.
Yeah, emergency.
Yeah.
Exactly, that's what we're talking about. So I told him you need to shop before you're out. Like right now I'm procuring a chain because I use Campy record chain. I'm gonna get one. I always keep one. I just used the last one to put on the Colnago when I started the Festive 500. Needed a new chain, so that was the last one. So as soon as I use the last one, I get another one. Keep it in the parts bin. So when you run out, it's there. You know. So I keep a list of things that I need and not have to worry about running out. So I can take my time when they get on sale. Same thing with tires. I keep my list.
Did not change.
My gator skin's got a cut in it, so I needed to put a tire boot in there, which I made my own boot, and I did because the tire is brand new. And so the cut, I had a flat, but the cut wasn't the reason. It was the valve of the tube. Once I got in there and figured it out, I just put a boot in there, put a new tube in there, and I'll use that tire. Something sliced the side. Right here, the road starts to go up. You can see it says 2%. So the funny thing is, we're climbing a 1 to 2% hill, and we're talking, and Frankie's mind is not on the hill. That's the nice thing about riding with people. So he's not thinking about the hill at all. He's climbing without even realizing. Because we're climbing now. That -1, I guess we're going down the hill right here, and it says -0. Now that's the main climb coming up where the road curves to the right. And so I think I tell him here to find a gear in the middle, in the back, settle down, and maybe just shift 1 or 2 if you think you need to, instead of all the shifting he does. Shifts too frequently. Find a gear you think you need and work it. We're talking about the weather we've been riding in and how we've been dressing like Frankie.
We're stopping to pee like every 30 minutes. Oh yeah. HEB, Walmart. Oh yeah.
I usually have to go to the bathroom.
No, when it's cold, you do. Your body acts different.
So you don't need to kill yourself climbing, especially if Frankie doesn't like climbs according to him. Just climb it. Just climb it. The more you do it, the better you'll be at it. Just go seek them out and ride them. I used to hate them when I competed because I'm a natural sprinter, but you can't win a race if you're not there at the end. So I rode so many climbs that I ended up becoming a rider that could break away, and nobody took me seriously. So I won a few races where they let me go. Nobody chased, and I stayed away. So the situation was right. The climb's not over yet, but Frankie's legs have had it, so he slipped back. I just continued the tempo. Riding next to him to kind of give him a rabbit to chase. He'll get there. The areas we're riding, they're up and down. He was riding at night in the Woodlands. It's up and down. There are very few flat areas. You ride on the north side of town around here, you're going to be going up and down. I think it makes it more interesting. I like it. I don't care for flat roads too much. They're great for time trials. Carry some speed. Other than that, to just ride them every day, just you're dealing with the wind. That's about it.
I tell you, without a good fish.
Yeah.
Hey, boys! What's going on?
I like to mess with the dogs. There's two of them out there. I'm like, what's going on? What you guys working on? You hear that wind?
Try to film the bad boys.
They might say 8C, but it's colder than 8C.
It's just like my legs sometimes don't seem like they're strong enough. You know what I mean?
Frankie's talking about the lack of strength in his legs.
Yeah.
Frankie said let's go. My leg said you need to go find somehow to condition my leg.
Condition of my ride right there. Right?
So whether it's hills or flats into the wind, if you ride the same gear every time you go out in the same conditions, you're not going to get faster. You got to increase your resistance. I'm telling Frankie he needs to sprint up these hills. So there's a hill coming. I told him, let's sprint up this one. This is a portion of that 6.4% hill that we started with. This is after the stop sign. I tell him to go. That's how you build your strength.
It's moving. It's moving. That's it.
I told him to go boom.
What are your pants, sir? Attention!
Frankie turns everything into a joke, so he comes and he says,
I said boom. My shit said pow.
I'm laughing. I'm like, this guy. I shake my head. He says, his leg said, pow. So I told him, you got to go boom and attack and go. That's how you build your strength. He said, boom, and his leg said, pow. His legs blew. So letting him know what he needs to do when he rides. So we're going to get out originally, so we're going to turn left here. And I told Frankie, I said, you need to we're going to try, there's another climb coming up down the hill. We'll go downhill, then the last climb. So I said, every time you come to a hill, I told him, every time you see a hill, attack it. And Yeah, and after it rests. That's what we're talking about. Attack every time the road goes up on your ride. Attack it on your hard day.
That's what it takes, man. And boom. Everybody can go fast on a flat road. You need that. We'll get there quicker.
I told him you gotta feel the pain. You gotta let your legs hurt. After a while, you get used to it. So that's the climb. I told him, let's go. I put it in the 53.12, I think. It's a big gear. I wasn't sprinting that on this little climb. So I told him just to egg him on, and he comes by. Frankie, yeah.
That's what I'm talking about, man. That's what it takes.
You can do your sprints in like a 35-minute to 1 hour ride. You're done. Get a good workout, warm up 10-15 minutes, and give it a go. After each sprint, you rest. You don't need to spend the whole day doing that.
Raven Chapel Road.
So after we leave Ridge Lake Shores,
Right turn,
we
Frankie.
come on Raven Chapel Road. This road has long climbs, and we run into some cyclists that are already on the road. We're riding
You read
along.
my mind.
And so I switched the camera here,
Got you here.
The guy comes
and
Here.
I gave
Got it?
Paul the camera. We had planned to film this road because of the climb. Right here we're climbing. It says 0, but it's like 0.7, 0.8. This road is up. It's up and down. That's it. So we gain a lot of elevation. If you guys look at our Festive 500 this week, the elevation came mostly from this area here. And if you look at the route map on this video, that's where you see those spikes. These Raven Chapel. These are the steepest ones that we encountered on this ride. They're not the steepest in the area, but they're long and they're higher than the areas we normally ride, even Ridge Lake Shores. So right here we're climbing. And this lady, yeah, she said that I was wondering when I was going to see other cyclists out here because they hadn't seen anybody. So we passed her. She's very friendly. And there's another lady here. It turns out all of them were together, but because of this drag, their group is split all over the highway. So we passed this lady. I said good morning. And I gave her room. You don't need to be by the yellow line. You just give, because she looked like she was riding a straight line. That's the way you pass. You can pass with maybe the width of a, I guess, bike handlebar. I just basically use a little over the middle of the road, which is normal. Especially riders like these that are holding a straight line, I don't worry that much about it. If they're weaving, then I give them even more room. These two guys over there, they're actually three guys. One guy here in front of us got dropped by those two up front. And when we passed this guy right in front of us, for some reason he couldn't resist the urge to give Frankie advice. Talking about Frankie should let me know how close he is to my wheel. Like he knows our level and who we are. Resist the urge when people pass you to give advice. It's a public road. If, you know, we're passing you and you're giving us advice. And I told Frankie later, I said, you should have told him if I want to learn how to go slow, I'll contact you. You know, it's like, we're passing you, you're giving advice based on what? It's a public road, you're riding your bike, we're riding our bike. Hello, hello, that's it. Tell him. He didn't say anything to me for some reason, because Frankie's on my wheel and we both went by. And then Frankie said that he told him that Frankie should make sure that I know that he's following me that closely, which shows his ignorance. He's supposed to be following me that closely. Frankie's within a foot of my rear wheel, which is good. You can even follow closer when you're comfortable with people. So what are you giving us advice for? You know how to ride so much and we're just cruising here and we're coming past you and you're giving us advice? Please. So he got the boys a little annoyed, and you'll hear Paul's comments about it. I didn't know about it until we passed him, and then Frankie started updating me. We're not trying to catch anybody. We're just riding. This is our pace. You can see my efforts in the same zone too. But we're just going faster than they are. And this is a climb. You can't cheat. There's no flat road. There's no rolling here. You know. So I look back and I move over. Look at how much room we gave him. Look how far over we are. He's got the nerve to make a comment to Frankie about what? That's what when he said it. I didn't hear it. With the wind, I didn't hear it. All I did when I went by was wave. I think I said hi or something.
Where do you pass? Let me know you're there. So you tell somebody that in the car?
I'm not sure exactly what he said, but it sounded like he wasn't happy that we were passing him. Like the road was designed for him. I want to learn how to ride on the road. You don't like that we're passing you? Go faster. You don't have to worry about it. So these other two we passed. The guy behind who's drafting is the typical one that you pass him. This one, you pass him and he can't resist the urge. He wants to pass you back. Looks like he's sitting too low on the bike from what I saw anyway, when I'm looking at the clip. So we go by, you heard Paul say morning, and we went by. And that's when Frankie starts to update me about the comments from that guy. That's when I told him, I said, if you want to learn how to go slow, you'll let him know. So Frankie rides up to me and starts to tell me. Right there. He told Frankie was following me too closely. Like Frankie's not supposed to follow me closely. Right. That makes a lot of sense. That's why I said on that other video, be careful who you get your advice from. They don't know what they're doing and want to give advice. You got carbon bikes. I bet you those bikes are like 15 grand a piece. Everything was top of the line, zip wheels, all that stuff, and you're riding slowly. Maybe if you bought a less expensive bike, you'd be able to ride more and build the engine, and maybe get fitted. You're on an aero bar going slow. That doesn't benefit you. Come on, you're gonna go slow. You don't need an aero bar. It's just kind of rude. I always want to make comments. I always want to direct traffic.
We got a company.
So yeah, Paul is letting us know we got company. That other guy I was talking about now has latched onto Paul's wheel without announcing that he's there, which is the proper thing to do. But I didn't look behind. I didn't know. Even though on the clip here I heard Paul say we had company, when he said it on the roll, I did not hear it. He was saying it to Frankie because Frankie was telling me what had happened. At this point, we're just riding. But I suspected somebody was there. You know, just something like a sixth sense. I just kept riding. My plan was to let Frankie lead, because right here, this road here, it's relatively flat, and then it starts. We hit a hill after this intersection. So I check for cars here. I let them know it's clear. There's a super steep climb to the left, but it doesn't go anywhere, dead end. I ride that when I come out here solo. It's a leg breaker. It's really steep, like a wall. So I look back for cars just to check, and then I wave Frankie up, tell him, set your own pace. I want him to set his own pace because he's been falling back in Ridge Lake Shores. At this point, I have no idea that other guy is there. I have no interest in that. I want Frankie to lead the climb. You can see the climb up there. It's steep and it's long. Probably 3 to 4%, I'm thinking. But this is the steepest one on this road. After this, the other ones are easy. So if you ride this well and smart, you can really make up ground on the other. Here he comes, and he feels the urge to make a statement as he goes by me. He doesn't know me. He says, oh, I'm building some momentum for the climb. That's what he said. I'm thinking, why do you need to tell me anything? It's a public road. And so a lot of times my coaches will tell me that means that it's a show, okay? Nobody needs to say anything if they're riding their bike. So I told Frankie, don't you worry about that guy. You do your own thing. And I told Frankie, yeah, don't shift down. He was going to shift down because the climate is bitten right now. It's biting. And so I put my hand in his back and I could feel him accelerate just with that little push that I left him. I told him not to shift down, ride that gear. And we're pulling this guy back, Mr. I need momentum for the climb. And as we go by, then he leans over, he turns over and tells Frankie, I hate climbs. And what that tells me, later on I was telling Frankie, is it's all a show. You're not getting past because you hate climbs. You're getting past because you can't ride the climb and you try to do something above your ability. You don't need to explain to me why you're being passed. That's happened to every cyclist. Big deal. Who leans out the car window when a car passes and says, oh, I didn't buy enough gas? Nobody cares. So we watched this guy when he was turning, but he saw us, so I didn't like what he did, you know, but at least he did it okay. At this point, I didn't realize it, but Paul tells us later, Frankie basically, that acceleration dropped that guy. When we passed him, he was done. He left his buddies to come and show off, not knowing who he's riding with. You know, we've got kilometers in our legs. We've been doing the Festive 500. You're messing with Rapha Festive 500 participants here. You know, while you sleeping, we've been riding. Frankie been riding at night in the cold. 35-degree weather at night. That's cold. So he's hard. I mean, you know. So at this point, Frankie has dropped the guy. I wasn't aware of it. That was not the goal. I just wanted him to ride those climbs without downshifting. So you hear Paul. I let Frankie go because he's spraying water. The road's wet, and that rooster tail was getting all on my jersey and my arm, and so I just gave him some room. You can't follow him closely. He doesn't have fenders. But at this point, we got a gap on the guys behind, and we don't care at this point because we're just riding. If we could pass them at that pace, we know they ain't coming back. And I don't know why people worry about that. We're just riding. Ride your own pace. He came and made two statements that said,
He needs to save his energy now.
yeah, Paul is saying that Frankie needs to save his energy because we got a lot of riding to do. This is 2.5 hours into a 5-hour ride. It's just halfway. So he's not that far ahead. He's probably 3 to 5 seconds up. We're just staying back so we don't get sprayed. At this point, we continue to pull away from those guys. We never saw them again. They're riding this same route. This is a big route for cycling. And this route here is the open road. There are no stop signs to hold anything up. You got to ride. There's no way to make up ground. It's just you keep going. The statements that guy made is what you call, for those of you who have played poker, that's called a tell. You don't need to make a comment when you come by on the highway. You know, it showed that he was trying something, you know, and then he had to explain why he was being passed. Oh, I hate hills. As Frankie told me later, because he didn't tell me. He said that as Frankie went by. And it's just, you know, resist the urge to do that. You want to pass somebody back, just pass them. It's a road. You don't need to make explanations. But if that wasn't your plan, you just keep doing what you went out there to do. And if you want to get on that wheel, announce yourself so they know you're there, and then just sit in. You know, you didn't make plans with somebody. So we're talking about how dirty that lady's back was. And Frankie's back is dirty. We're talking about the lack of fenders. They've got $15,000 bikes thereabouts, when a $30 to $50 fender would keep them clean and dry on a cold day, because it's not, I guess it's not cool. So that's what we're talking about. This overlay here, I had a problem with this clip when I was doing the overlay. So for about 10 minutes here, it does not show the total distance where it says 0.7. It's showing the stat for just the clip. And then the time also is just going to show like the lap time for this clip. I decided to go ahead and use it because it would take like 12 hours to redo the whole thing. Basically, the sync did not work the first time, and so I resynced it. So the stats I care about, like the speed and the grade, they're all there. Heart rate, all of that. So it's just the total distance and duration that's not accurate. Everything else is accurate, and it's only for this clip. And on here, after we passed those guys, we kept riding because this road is still going up. You can see that it says 1% 0. This is all up, and it's beautiful here. We're talking about the guy and how they just needed to hold their pace instead of worrying about us. I'm telling Frankie because I told him stop messing around with those little gears when we went up that climb.
Pull that guy back.
Dropped it.
Look behind you. Nobody there. Look behind you. We're done. Once you get there, boom. Second down.
He's looking back. We see them way in the distance. They're probably just coming around that corner. But this whole thing is a climb here. You can see it says grade 1%, and it goes up from there. That's why I like this route. You're climbing 80 to 90% of the time.
I need a head of steam.
Yeah.
It's a quiet road. And we're talking about his comment. You need a head of steam. Why do you need to tell me that? I don't know you. You need to do what you got to do. Just do it. It's an open road.
He wanted to downstairs. You don't downstairs.
Yeah.
I put my hand on his back. Don't you down shit.
I got it on here.
Let's go.
I told Frankie stop messing around with these little gears. Shift up.
You want to go slow. Look at this climb. Beautiful.
This road's beautiful. The trees go across. There's certain corners where the trees go completely across the road. Right under the canopy of trees. So here we're taking it easy, but we're still riding these hills, and we're just same pace. We're talking, but we're still riding. You don't need to be killing yourself to get stronger. Just ride the climbs, ride the wind. You don't need to go max all the time. When it's time to go hard, you'll be ready. Right now, you need to condition yourself. Frankie dropped that guy like a bad habit. That's what we're laughing at. That Frankie dropped the mic. The show's over. I'm done with you. You messing with a Rapha Festive 500 finisher. And that's the thing. They don't know your level. They just want to assume that they can keep up.
Yeah. He was pissed off because they were passing. That's how they are.
I want to tell him shut up.
You gotta tell me what
That's the guy he passed that made the comment about make sure you tell, he's supposed to tell me how close he is to my wheel. Yeah, right.
Oh, they like to direct the traffic, man. That's the best they know how to do. But if he's passing you, it's okay.
His comments showed his ignorance. That's the thing. If you don't know something, just be quiet. Because really, you let yourself down. Because the people who know can tell when you just BSing. They can tell. Just come out and say, what is that? Don't act like you know. You're not going to fool anybody that knows. In any situation, any subject matter, you don't know, ask. You end up making yourself look dumb when you act like you know, because the people who know can tell based on the questions you ask that you don't know. And they're not going to sit around and have a discussion with you. What do they need to discuss with you? You have nothing to offer them. So you need to know something, just ask. Don't act like it's a discussion.
You've been with Rapha Festive 500.
Yeah, Paul saying that he didn't know.
That's why he didn't know.
We got all these kilometers in our legs. Picked the wrong day.
They come and want to fool around.
Get that a lot around here. You pass somebody, they want to pass you back and this and that. They kill themselves to pass you, and then they just unravel.
Oh All you need is to control the tempo and spank it.
We never saw them again. At that turn, they were about probably almost a mile back, and by the time we finished this section, we didn't see them at all. It was like they were probably recovering. That's what they should have been focused on, is regrouping to chase us.
Catching up to that guy early on the right? Yeah. You were not part of his plan.
That's what we're telling Frankie. He was chasing that guy early in the ride. You weren't part of his plan. He didn't tell you he wanted to meet you. So this section here took us probably about 10 minutes to get through. And once we got through here, we rode the highways until we got back to the Woodlands. And we resumed the filming in the Woodlands. So right here, I'm riding alongside Frankie, and I'm coaching him on how to ride these climbs and quit worrying about looking for easy gears. Pick a gear and push as the climb digs. And every time you come, try to use a harder gear if the conditions are the same. As long as you're not bogged down, that's the only way you're going to get stronger. Using little gears is not going to strengthen you quickly enough. If you ride with people who can use bigger gears, they're going to be going faster. No pain, no gain on that level. You got to make your legs hurt. After a while, they get used to it. That's what we're doing there. Just kind of egging him on, letting him know. Don't worry about the length of the climb. This is a long climb. This whole area here is a climb. It goes up and down, but it's a climb. This is a climb. You can look at the road. Right? It says -1. I guess it levels off a little. Yeah. So we're getting near that highway. Highway called 2854. We're in an area called Conroe, Texas. So it's good to know that this stretch is probably about 5 kilometers. So that's good. I'm looking at that distance there for this segment. I don't do Strava segments personally, but people have already set up segments on these routes, and I've been seeing different like PRs, different things, second fastest and everything, you know.
That's it.
This is the highway here. 2854.
Let's go. Come on.
Busy highway is clear. Take off. Frankie's always messing around. Paul Handsman's camera in here.
Down one side of this ride, epic ride. We're back in the Woodlands, approaching Ashlane Parkway.
We're in the heart of the Woodlands again. This is Ashlane right on that corner. It bites. I've got the camera here and Paul's leading us. We're about probably 5 kilometers from the Flint Ridge Hill. So it's been a good ride. Frankie really hung in there like a trooper. You can see, if you look at the clock, this clip now is back to normal. The cumulative values are there. You can see we got 99.2 kilometers, 4 hours and 51 minutes at this point.
Take your battery dead, Frankie, in your life.
We're about 45 minutes from the end of the ride, I'm thinking. So after the climb where Frankie dropped that guy on the way back on his highways, he struggled a bit on the climbs. I think it was a combination of having tired legs from the Festive 500 challenge, but just, you know, lacking power right now. Once he recovers from all these miles, I think next weekend he should feel really good. He's just got to learn how to dose his effort. I think that's the biggest thing. Learn when to use your energy and when to rest, conserve. It'll come with time. bit of a drag. It says 0, but it's a drag. And finishing it right here. I'm gonna make a right turn. Little catty corner here on Macbeth Way. This keeps us off the busy main road for a little bit. Felt like the temperature reading the whole day. It always felt colder. It was supposed to get up to 57 Fahrenheit, which is probably about 12, 13 C or busy. It never got no more. It stayed around 10 C and it went back down. But right now it says 10 C, but it probably feels like 7. There's a lot of wind. Right here, Paul gets the camera. Let's change the camera. Get behind frame. We're heading towards Flint Ridge Drive. Frankie's leading us. Stopped at the Exxon on the highway to use the restroom and get some refill on the bottles. Frankie was dirty, his back, his shoes. So he's gonna be getting some stuff down the road. I like to cover my shoes even if it's not cold, if it's going to be wet. It's a lot easier to just peel the shoe cover off and rinse it than to try to clean your shoes. Plus, you don't have to worry about your feet being too wet. Even though they can't keep all the water out, it keeps the muck off of you. And anytime there's a hint of rain, I cover my shoes. Cleanup is a lot easier when you get home. The whole ride was clean. Thanks to those SKS mud guards. They're excellent. Those are set up to take all of 5 or 10 seconds to latch each side on and you're ready to go. About a centimeter of clearance between the tire and the fenders just in case leaves or other things get in there. I don't have to worry about it. That's what they recommend. At this point, I'm just kind of sitting on Frankie's wheel. He gets really low when he's on those bars, so I don't really get that much of a drag. But there's always a little bit of a draft as far as what his bicycle's plowing the air in front of him. So. He's smaller than I am, so it's kind of, you can't feel the same effect if you're following a bigger rider. That's another trick when you're in the group. Follow somebody about your size or bigger, if at all possible. Makes a big difference. I'm keeping my cadence high because we got a lot of climbs left. And on this ride, we're just gonna ride the climbs. I plan to just keep downshifting and keep the effort the same as we hit the climbs. After this light, there's a street called Kirkendall. After this light, the hills begin in earnest. Frankie was messing with his bottles. I told him, put that bottle down. Time to go. Light's changing. There's a bottle in the back of the bike. Time to go. Sitting in the middle of the road trying to get a drink on the bike. That first little bump we went over really is not much. This is one of the steeper ones. It gets to about probably 4.6 or 7, something like that. With what we've ridden today, it's nothing. But it's almost 5 hours, 4:59 thereabouts, so about 5 hours. So I'm keeping the effort the same. I'm not forcing the pace, I'm just riding, keeping my cadence above 80. This is like a 3-way stop sign with the other road dead ends. I checked that one. If it's clear, I let them know it's clear. Roar through. And we are running in the hills of varying length. The next one here is pretty minor. It doesn't extend that far, really. It's short. And it's not that steep. It just rolls a little bit. 1% there, 2%. I feel like 2. But this is John Cooper School Road, yeah. So what I did is every time the road came up, I would shift down, keep the cadence the same, keep the effort in zone 2. I didn't force the gear or something, I kept shifting down. Ended up riding most of the climbs in a 53, 23, sometimes 25. adjusted to where I could cross chain if I wanted to. That's the way I adjust my bikes to where they're set to handle anything. We got about 104.3 kilometers. It's 5 hours on the clock. This climb, when you see going to the left, is one of the longer ones on these rollers here, Flint Ridge, going south. We're already on the climb. It doesn't register, but we're on the climb. There, jump to 1. And it just stays until well after the horizon you see there. Heart rate stayed right around the same zones, 147, 148. Just try to keep it steady. So after we ride these hills, it's not on film, but Frankie had a problem with his chain. One of the pins were coming loose. We're able to salvage it and get it back in there to get it back home. So he's gonna come over so I can replace the chain. I told him to go ahead and just buy a chain. So it's possible whoever installed it may have added links or something, because I don't see that often. Chains nowadays are pretty durable. So I was needling him. I told him, that's all that shifting you're doing. So find a gear and just ride. So, but shifting's a good thing. You need to use the gears you have. But if you want to get stronger, you can't ride the little ones all the time. You gotta push yourself. This is the final climb that we tackle before this takes us up to Gosling. It may say 10C, but it never felt like 10C. It felt cold the entire day. The kind of rides that you do to build your base, because when it's time to push and you've got these kind of kilometers in your legs, your fast will be extremely fast and it will last because you'll have endurance. You will have the capillaries necessary to remove the lactate you produce when you push into the upper zones. This is what it takes. Time in the saddle. This is what we did on Saturday, December 30th. I hope you got a chance to get some kilometers in your legs. I want to thank Rapha for the Festive 500. Got me out of the house even though I was not well. Otherwise, I may not have been able to get such good quality conditioning in my legs. So no matter what, don't let anything stop you. Get out there. Be safe.
Can I get some? Let's go. What you want about?